What's up?
I just woke up. You?
I just ate.
Ooh.
Where is he? Just a sec. Okay, cool. You're playing Ningguang today? Let's go!
Yeah. He's a character that makes me very frustrated to play.
What, you don't like hitting the ground?
It's not even that. Like, that part I don't mind that much. I just, like, kind of assume that I'm gonna get at most 10 hits, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's the boss hitboxes moving and being so huge and making you unable to actually keep your wall down unless you fucking leave Bennett buff. That shit makes me angry.
Oh, okay. The wall.
Because if the wall doesn't stay down, the burst is only 6 hits.
At least you get energy if the wall gets blown up.
Yeah, but you don't get it twice because she has particle generation ICD. In 1.0. Sorry.
Hello.
No.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Ningguang, classic. Right, let me mute my Genshin. Okay, cool. So originally I had a topic for today, but it's been a while. I think we're just gonna end up chatting. Is that
What
what
was the original topic?
I wanted to do like a 5-star weapon tier list. But
Oh, you know, I actually did a 5-star standard weapon tier list recently.
they're all pretty bad besides
I
maybe
mean-
Harp.
The thing about that is, like, you view it with the lens that, oh, it's do I want this 5-star or another 5-star? But like,
I view it as, do I want this 5-star or another 4-star? At the end
but
of it,
even then, like,
I don't know. Like Skyward Pride.
like for example, right? I got Aquila before I ever got literally any other weapon. It was literally the
okay.
first weapon on my
Talking about
account.
Aquila. Aquila's nice to get if you play Bennett specifically.
Yeah.
And you can only ever get one Aquila, or you only ever want to get one Aquila.
Yeah.
And regarding like
To be fair though,
what it does for Bennett,
the-
how impactful is that over Sapwood Blade?
From what I've seen though, Skyward is more popular on Bennett than Aquila. Like, other people like to play Skyward over that because the energy just feels comfier, I guess. Which is also standard.
Yeah.
For example, on teams where Bennett can have energy issues, like on Wanderer teams.
Yep.
I think in those teams, I'd prefer just running Fav, but
I would rather use Skyward Blade. The base attack, especially going from 454 to
yeah,
610.
that's fair.
Regarding Aquila, there is a genuine argument for you could just use Alley Flash. Because
I think
Skyward,
you severely overestimate the amount of people who have Ali Flash.
I do, but
Yeah.
I'm also
Like,
I also want to
don't
include
have Ali
Sapwood
Flash. I
Blade.
tried to get Ali Flash and I didn't get it.
I do also want to include Sapwood Blade.
Yeah. I think the comparison to Ali Flash is scuffed. The one to Sapwood Blade is much better.
Well, the comparison to Alley Flash is that Aquila has no passive. It has no main stat. It doesn't do anything besides the base
Okay,
attack.
unironically,
That's the comparison that I wanted to make. Are you gonna tell me about the healing proc?
Yeah, okay. You have no idea how many times it saved me.
It's fun that it's nice that it cancels knockback. I'll give you that.
It's so... I like it. It's nice.
I'll give you it cancels knockback once, which is really nice.
It can also proc during your iframe, so you can get free healing. True.
It does?
It does, yeah.
Why? Does it require you to get hit?
It requires you to get hit, not to take damage.
Oh, you're talking about
So
burst
burst
iframe.
iframes,
Okay,
yeah,
not
yeah.
dash iframes. Okay. That's why I was confused. It can proc when you dash, says chat? Okay, whatever. Odd. But yeah.
Hey, Jester, can you
hello.
send me the link of the stream?
Yes. You want the YouTube one or what?
YouTube.
Omega.
That's...
Let me put a thumbnail on YouTube then real quick. You know what?
Discord bubbles mod check. I'm too lazy to do that.
This is a video
Fine,
call,
fine.
or like this is a Discord call.
Yeah, it's not even a server. I don't know how to do it when it's not in a server.
I don't think you can.
Oh, rip.
Ugh. So there we go. That works. The thumbnail didn't upload, but that's fine. What are the other 5-star? Skyward Pride. Just use Fav. I don't know about if you have a different opinion on that.
Maybe Lost Prayer has gained some value later in the game with the release of Wanderer, Ryosley as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I didn't think about that.
But yeah, generally the more 4-stars come out, even the free-to-play ones, the standard 5-star just lose some value because they just kind of look average in general in terms of optimizing damage.
Have you seen Wolf's gravestone next to Overlord's Mega Magic Sword on Navia?
Oh my god.
That's exactly what I mean.
I have my goat as Aquila.
That is the. You think that's the best weapon you can get from standard?
It's my goat. I think there's a very fair argument that it's not, but there are definitely some accounts on which it is.
Interesting.
And I think more importantly, I don't think it's ever bad on an account.
I think it'd be very useless on an account.
I mean, if you already have Mistsplitter, yeah. Otherwise, I don't think so.
Maybe I'm very caught up on. So I got Aquila early, and then I kept getting Aquilas. I do not have a green stick.
Yeah.
I have
the second one is
R4 Aquila Favonia. I do not own a green stick.
Yeah, I have Aquila as my goat, and then the other 3 good ones, in my opinion, are Lost Prayers, Scoured Harp, and Scoured Blade.
I like Scoured Blade a lot. Yeah, Lost Prayer is definitely really useful for Wanderer recently, or even Divilette now. It's a very viable weapon option for those characters.
Mm-hmm. Although with Divilette, I think you probably likely rather use Prototype Amber, maybe, no?
I don't think so. It depends on the set. It depends on your artifacts.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with Lost Prayers is that it's a crit rate weapon, and
at least he's a crit damage ascension, not a crit rate ascension like recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it on Melt Breezely, but Cryo Breezely, Freeze Breezely, it's just hard to manage.
It's like unusable to not overcap. Yeah. It's a problem I even have with Cash though, just because of my artifacts. I have to use Shim.
I can't.
There's the green stick, which is a 4-star weapon on everyone not named Xiao. So that's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice 4-star weapon.
It's technically my best in slot on Hu Tao sometimes.
Sometimes. The fact that you have to say sometimes.
Yeah, I know, man. It is what it is, man. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I know you're a very big proponent for the green stick. I'm sorry, but I gotta shut it down.
I'm not. I literally told you what it wasn't even in my top 4.
Oh yeah. Okay, you used to be a very big proponent for the green stick.
Did I?
Yeah. We got in an argument over a green stick.
We did, because you said it was fucking useless on Hu Tao.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, especially back then when we had less damage percent buffs.
It's not competitive with Homa, but
it's competitive with R3 D-Bane.
It's a bad weapon if it's very often better than the other free-to-play alternatives.
It's always been competitive with R3 D-Bane in that case.
A lot of people don't have refines on D-Bane or use fucking White Tassel.
Okay, but that doesn't make it not a 4-star weapon.
I never said that!
Okay.
You said it was useless! I said it was not!
Did I say it was useless? I don't know. Sure.
That's something you do all the time, Jay Stern. It's like...
It's not useless. Okay.
You very much exaggerate what someone else says, and then you attack that as if like, stop straw manning, Smudge.
Smudge.
All right, I have to lower Discord volume now.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm very loud. It's a good idea to lower it. Yeah.
Miss Smudging. Wolf's Gravestone. You know, Wolf's Gravestone's always funny to me because it was on Weapon Banners. And then it was never on a Weapon Banner again, even when they were still running standard weapons.
It is what it is.
It's a classic. Like, absolute classic. But regarding Wolf's Gravestone, what characters would you use it on if you got one? And what are the
Wolf's
alternatives?
Gravestone?
Yeah, Wugs.
I don't think I'd use it on anyone.
Not even Navia.
Well,
I don't think it's better than Sack. To be fair, I don't even have our R5 Sack, but I'm not planning on going for Navia, so. And I definitely wouldn't use it over Serpent Spine.
Yeah, I definitely would.
well, the only argument for Wolf's Gravestone on Navia is when you're not using Bennett, but
Yeah.
when
Which-
you're
Not
not.
using Bennett with Navia, Omega lol.
Give it 6 months. What? Give it 6 months.
What?
Okay, Crystal
We'll
Ball
see.
J's turn.
We'll see. We're getting another Geo character in Shiori.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Wait, there's more stuff
This
coming.
character
You think-
whose kit hasn't even been leaked yet could very well synergize with her. But
Just
right
saying. I think-
now,
There's also
I think
the
synergy-
there's Noel Navia teams currently, which are Bennettless.
yeah, those teams do exist.
They do exist. They're as good as Latin
Actually, I
Navia's
think I
teams.
like the Noel without Navia team more than the Noel team with Navia. Like,
Really?
using Noel, yeah, I think if you use the book trick to just use a 11 seconds long charge attack, I think it just sounds better to me.
What are the
than,
units? for
putting
that?
Navia.
Are you talking about Albedo?
Yeah, potentially Goro Furina,
Yeah,
but I think
I was-
Albedo is replaceable.
I was assuming Goro Furina. I'm like, who's your last slot then, if not Navia?
Albedo, I guess.
Okay.
Albedo works.
Yeah, that works. I don't think I would be surprised to see Navia be better than Albedo there, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe.
Depends on the situation, really. Like, you're playing in AoE situations, like the first chamber of the current abyss. Just doing a full charge attack with Noel sounds better to me than swapping to Navia to do whatever.
Navia and Noel normal attacks do very similar damage, don't they?
Think so, but
Yeah, but
I was
sorry, go ahead.
more looking at the charge attack. Like that's the main value of Noel on those teams to me. Like the range she has.
Okay, the AoE coverage. Yeah, that's true. I think Navi is pretty cool that she can pop on, do like 200k with just the E scale and pop off in the Noel team.
For
Because
sure.
if you do,
The
end
front
up
load,
if you do,
front
end up,
load is remarkable.
the front load is. I don't know how remarkable it is. Like it. I don't know. I'm conflicted a lot with Navia because she is the most just does damage character I think we've ever had.
Yeah.
She doesn't have she might as well not have an element. So she doesn't really have innate synergies. She just does damage.
I am a true believer in navigational.
Navigational?
Well,
No. Why would it be navigation? She's not a whatever.
National Geographic?
Sure, at least that makes more sense. I think it's a boring name, but
Nah.
I've calculated this team with Line, Navia, Zhongli, and Bennett.
Okay.
With Petra Navia and both Petra Navia and Navia with her signature set that allows her to deal more damage, and it looks promising in the sense that you're getting Bennett buffs and the Geo Resonance for Navia, and also Line, of course, is pulling weight. But in that scenario, like the kind of quick swap scenario where you play these two carries, I guess, there is a way to make it fit.
How much DPS are you losing doing that compared to just playing Lenny?
But Line with Zhongli,
Yeah,
the team with Navia looked better to me. If we're talking mono Pyra though with Kazuha, for example, then it's better.
interesting. I'm not sure how.
Solo Geo Navia with Sack is the future.
Probably. If we never get a better Geo partner, yeah, probably.
It's Navia all the way. Navia, Bennett, Chengling, Furina.
Wait, it's Chengling Furina now?
Yeah.
I thought you loved Xingqiu! I can't believe you've done
but
this.
that team doesn't need him.
I can't believe you've done this!
I know!
This is not chill!
I know! I'm sorry!
But regarding Xiongling vapes on those teams, how consistent will they be? Because
you're not
I
vaping
think-
Chengling, you're vaping Furina.
Yeah.
Furina.
That's I guess.
Which is more damage.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's
Especially,
more. I think it's about the same.
it's more damage, especially when you're not really super buffing Xiangling. There's no sucrose in this
You
team.
have solo Hydro Furina
Yeah.
in a team that doesn't generate a huge amount of energy.
Oh.
She is...
No, you're generating energy with Sacknavia.
True! True, good point. Good point. But I think you're kind of forced into Fab Furina.
Oh, yeah, you are. You do Fab
Yeah, but-
Furina for the Linny team as is.
Regarding Chiori, I don't see them releasing a 5-star that will specifically buff Navia 3 months from now. Like,
I posted my pre-release like 2 days ago, and it's like one of the things I talk about. Navia's best teammate is Navia. Like, if we could play 2 Navias, it would be so good.
I'd actually be worried about the field time restrictions for a little
You
bit.
don't have to
for
do
two
all the
Navias.
normal attacks.
You
Like,
don't have to do all the
her
normal
normal
attacks.
attacks aren't very good. They're fine. You can do
Yeah.
them if you don't have other things to do. But
Yeah.
if you have other things to do, you don't want to stay on her just for the normal attacks.
No, you definitely don't.
yeah, I have the
need
same
to.
opinion.
So
I think
if you could run 2 Navias and just swap between them and use their skills, that would be better.
I think I would rather have a character to better enable Furina with Yelan, or not Furina with Yelan, Furina with Navia. Fraudulent slip. Because if you had
Like
a better
a healer?
Geo healer, if you had a Geo healer,
Mm,
you could do Furina Yelan,
that could also work, yeah.
which also just immediately patches all the potential problems with Navia,
Mhm.
where
But
she
wouldn't.
kind of has to slot into a lot of existing 3-man teams.
It would have to be a healer that like does a lot though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
They're Geo, so you could load that healer up a bit.
yeah, maybe. But like, it would have to either be like a Bennett-like healer that just offers like a massive buff,
Yep.
or
Does
a
damage.
Kokomi-like healer that just does damage. But
Well,
even then, it's like the fact that their Geo does not even do that much. Like, it gives you the resonance, but like,
It gives you the resonance for Navia,
yeah.
and it gives you a character to hold Archaic Petra besides Navia herself.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. I've played with Petra a lot, and I think it's not. It's the sort of stuff that, like, it can be good, but practically, there's so many situations where things just don't work out the way that they can.
Really, I find myself using a lot of Petra lately. I especially like it for Nivillette teams, or
I
if
think
you're
for
playing a Geo
Nivillette teams,
character
it's
with
fine.
Lenny, these
I
mono
don't think
element
it's very
teams.
good for Nivillette, though, because, like,
You
It's
get
by
low
the
up a
time
bit.
you swap to him and you do a charge attack, the Petra's over.
it's better
Yeah,
than
you get low up
tenacity.
a bit.
It's better than tenacity. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but it's mostly usable on mono teams, and but I think with Navia, that since she can absorb the crystallizes, it makes more
But
sense.
it also means that if there's an enemy with any elemental infusion other than Pyro,
It gets
you will
scuffed.
That's
absorb a
true.
non-Pyro crystal.
Yep.
And you
That's
can't just not absorb it, you will, because she absorbs them.
Yep. The way it's a shame that Petra only buffs a single element.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they were thinking, why it needed this kind of restriction, but it's one point out.
I think the biggest issue with Petra is just how short the buff lasts, which kind of makes it so that, like, it would theoretically be better on fielders, but it gives you such little damage to the character that on fields that it's like, yeah, it's yeah.
On fielders with off fielders that don't snapshot, clarification
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah, it's. I do not like Petra very much.
I really like Petra, specifically on Zhongli now. But that's my opinion. I think it's
Like, okay,
very good on
because
Zhongli.
the thing about like the Neuvillette team is like, yes, it is better than everything else because Zhongli doesn't have a good set in the team. But
Yeah.
like,
Or just kind of
25% of Neuvillette's damage is benefiting from Petra because the buff lasts so short, and you care more about VV uptime than Petra uptime.
that's fine. It buffs Furina
Mm.
for 10 seconds.
Not for a particularly long amount of time either.
10 out of 25 seconds, that's near half the rotation, or 45% of the rotation.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
I mean, no.
Yeah, I think it's a solid option, just not a huge difference maker, but it helps in those situations where you need early damage. Like,
It's like-
if you need to take out an early wave, like the first chamber now, the abyss with those two minions, I guess the early damage helps.
The way I always refer to it is if you can't get the crystal, don't bother getting the crystal. You either accidentally pick it up or you don't.
Yeah,
it's
like,
not,
that's-
it's not
that-
worth
that's-
running around
That's
like a
part of
chicken
my
with its head
point.
cut off.
The buff is insignificant enough that if you don't get it, it doesn't change much. And like, yeah, it's
At the same time,
that team,
it is one of the
because you
few
don't have
buffs you
attack
can
scalers,
use.
like
so-
in that team, because you don't have attack scalers, it's better than other options. But
Yeah.
like
Even
when you have attack scalers, I'd rather run TOM.
I think Tenacity has significantly
Even-
worse uptime.
Even when you don't,
I think Tenacity has
still tend to
significantly
rather running
worse
TOM. The shield strength is just so nice.
The shield strength isn't given unless it's buffing, right?
Yeah.
So meaning the second the enemy walks away from Zhongli's pillar or gets destroyed, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I'd rather use Archaic Petra. At least it has a fixed duration. It's consistent. It's consistently inconsistent, but it's more reliable than Tenacity.
I guess. Like either way, both sets suck.
It
Johnny just
also
doesn't have a
is.
good
It
set.
also is a better buff than Tenacity, anyway. In regards to damage for someone like Lenny. I'll just mention that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, going back to Chiori, I think making her a healer would be a good middle ground between making her useful for Navia and also making her useful for other scenarios, I guess. Because I don't see them making a 5-star just to buff Navia. They don't do that a lot in general. Like when they made Shenhe for Ayaka and Ganyu,
Yeah,
but
I-
they were the shit back in the day.
I kind of
When
disagree with that.
I think I disagree with that too. They definitely release 4 stars and 5 stars that are iterative on things that are.
I mean,
already
just
present.
5 stars. Specifically 5 stars.
Sino
Like,
Baiju.
Yeah, but Baiju is not just buffing Sino.
He really is in most cases.
He's also buffing
What
other
about
aggravate
Sino?
teams. He's usable in general. Like he's a healer, so
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
usable in a lot of situations.
He's usable in a lot of situations, but I would argue like the thing where you pull Baiju for, and the only character available in that slot is Baiju, is a lot of Sino teams.
That is his best use, I guess, but I think is good in general for a lot of possible tender uses. Even if you want to play Hyperbeam with Baiju as the driver, that's an use.
Yeah, it is a use.
Yeah. I disagree with the idea that like they're not gonna release a unit to buff Navia, because like I said earlier, it's like I feel like Navia's best teammate would just be another Navia, and if you release units like that, well, the first one you release is not gonna have other units that you can use them with, right? But the second one will, because so inherently it's like a character like Navia. The first time you release them, they're not gonna have a teammate that they can do like a quick swap, double carry stuff with. But the second one, well, you can use them with Navia.
That's true, but I don't think Navia will sell a lot in the first place.
Well,
I guess not big enough sales to justify making another 5-star for this other character that could sell even less.
I don't think they necessarily care. In regards to the idea of sales, Genshin is in a slow period since the release of other Hoyo games. I think they care more about like their design intention of, hey, let's make a character for this.
I also don't think Navia is gonna sell poorly.
She's pretty cute.
We'll see, I guess.
Wait, there are. You were
But I
talking
think
about
the only very
Baiju being useful because he's a healer. You know what character they just released that every team could use a good healer for? Either a healer that does damage or provides a buff, and you wouldn't really care if they were Geo.
Huh?
If there's a good Geo healer who provides a buff or does off-field damage, you can use them in a lot of places with Furina.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, making her a healer would be a good middle ground between making her useful with Navia and also other teams. Well, if you made her another quick swap DPS that fits with Navia, for example, I think that makes a lot less sense from a just let's sell this unit standpoint.
Yeah, I don't know if they think about let's sell this unit. I do think they think about let's play this unit, or like, what is this character missing in a lot of cases.
I guess we'll see.
We'll see. Be either Geo healer plus Petra holder, or they could do a Geo either on field, another like similarly quick swappy on field DPS or an off field DPS. You could make an attack scaling albedo without any issues. If they made a healer, what if they had auto attack +1?
What does that mean?
Oh.
What? Auto attack +1. Tortalia's passive exploration talent. Would that talent be more useful on a healer?
I mean, yeah. Because you don't really play Child in teams where other units normal attack. But you could play a healer in teams where other units normal attack. So, yes, it would inherently be more useful.
I think it would be really cool. They should do that.
But Jason, you told me Cloud Retainer has that, right? Like, where did you get that?
Allegedly, there are a bunch of rumors going around for Leon or Cloud Retainer or whatever her name is.
Pre-beta leaks, Bedge.
Pre-beta leaks. Find out in a week.
I heard a lot of Cloud Retainer is specifically supporting Xiao, but I don't know about that.
That's a pretty gross misinterpretation of the information. So, if you've they're very careful with 5-star healers. Originally, healers didn't generate energy, but now healers, specifically 5-star healers, don't have access.
Hello?
Characters' abilities that heal. You know what I mean? Noelle's shield, Barbara's E skill, Chi-Chi's E skill. They did not generate energy from their healing abilities. But now they're very careful with 5-star healers don't have 5-star support weapons. They have TTDS, and that's it. And Hakushin Ring.
Or type Amber.
That's a healing weapon. It's not a support. Whatever. It's not a weapon that gives a buff.
It's a support weapon because it gives you damage % with Furina. True!
Okay. But yeah, they're very careful about signature weapons for these 5-star healers. Baiju's Donut uses his HP to give him damage % and energy.
It's so bad.
Kokomi's Donut is HP scaling damage on her normal attacks and energy.
That's a lot less bad, but
It's a lot less bad now. It was very bad for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was very bad. It was very useless because it wasn't that much better than the other weapons you could play. But
yeah,
it's still not. It's still just as much better as it used to be.
My point was these healers, they always have a personal damage 5-star weapon. What are the sus pre-beta leaks for Cloud Retainer? She jumps up and does a plunge. The 5-star weapon leak is buffs, plunges, and gives energy. That's not a team buff, that's for her. That's... Seems pretty obvious to me that she doesn't actually buff plunges besides for herself. That's why I think it's a big misinterpretation regarding the idea of the Xiao support. That's, I guess, my 2 cents on it. I don't know if you have a different opinion.
Fuck pre-beta leaks. They're not worth looking at.
It's pretty reasonable.
I think in general they're very cautious in giving healers any offensive value in general. Excluding this Furina thing that made her all look better, the new artifact set is pretty much a flop in that sense.
Yeah. I'm disappointed. Have you found teams where it's super useful?
For it to be significant at all, you need it to proc twice in a rotation, and by itself, that's not easy. No, I haven't thought of anything right now.
So what I've seen is it's technically better than Noblesse on Charlotte in Riesli Furina teams.
Mm-hmm.
It should be better than Clam on Baiju and Neuvillette teams. And it's usable on Bennett in the Linny Furina teams. And that's all I've got. Shinobu and Neuvillette teams, I guess.
It's very much like Clam for healers that don't generate healing that much like over time, where it's like more front-loaded healing.
It's as good as Clam, if not slightly better than Clam in teams where you were using an off-field Clam character. Right? Just the thing is, Clam isn't a very useful set. Or a very prevalent set.
I mean, it depends on how much you're healing, right?
I don't know if it
What I
depends
got
on
is
how much
that
you're
in the
healing.
best case scenario, the set is slightly better than Clam, and in a
Yeah.
bad case scenario, it's worse. But it's not when it's better to an extent that it really makes a difference. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Like,
something you care about.
It's the kind of stuff. It's like the flop artifact set. It's technically an upgrade sometimes. Is it worth your fucking resin?
Nope. I think Flop is a little more meaningful of an upgrade. Flop
It is. It's even worse than flop.
2 to 3% more damage on your Hyper Blooms. 1.2 for Nilu teams.
I think that was worth the 8 months of farming that it took me to get the EM goblet on that domain.
Yeah, I never said it was resin efficient, but I think it's a bit more of a sizable buff.
Yeah.
Would I ever recommend farming Flop on an account? No. I would not, unless you've been playing
I
for
think there
years.
comes a point where all of your stuff is already so good that it is the most resin efficient thing, but it's just very late into an account.
Yeah, you gotta play for years. The best thing about
It's funny because
these...
It's funny because we got that Bloom set, but I think a Quicken set for the spread teams with Tridendro, for example, was more needed because Give the Dreams lose value in that scenario if you put that on Alhatem. I think a Quicken set was more needed.
Yeah, we were looking at, well, I remember this speculation when we saw Nymph for the first time. We were like, it's green, look at it. Oh my god, the spread set, it's finally here.
It's green?
It's like green-blue, yeah.
I thought it was blue. What?
It's green-blue.
I'm gonna go take a look. I don't believe you.
Take
You're
a
lying
look.
to me.
It's got green highlights. I'm looking at it right now.
Not green.
That's not blue.
Yes, it is.
It's a green blue.
It's blue with some turquoise.
So yeah. It's green.
It's more blue than green.
I think it's more green than blue.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. What's the hex code for nymph? What's that? It's more green in RGB. Let's go! Real TC starts now. So I just leave?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, when we got that release with Nymph Stream
This.
and the
Wait.
Urukasha,
This is the
that was
color palette.
Yeah, that's green.
That's blue. What is bro yapping about?
Bro, that's green.
that's green to me as well.
Bro, that's...
And the stream went dead.
Yep. Oh, here's a breakdown. Okay. Green, black, brown, gray, brown, blue. Gray, blue, blue. In proportion. Someone did a color map. Was this Lucid? Thank you, Lucid. It's more white. It's more...
By the way, does the set have any use on characters other than Child?
Nymph, it's terrible. It's not. It barely even has a use on Tartaglia.
Yeah.
Much like Vorukasha's Glow, these just are not good sets.
I think Vorukasha's Glow only starts making sense on Deia when you get constellations, like Constellation 4, and you need less energy from the emblem set. That's the only.
You need less energy than
only
the emblem
potential.
set, but you also don't have a good enough Merchandise set.
Yeah, it's just a puzzling release, really. He just wasted a lot on 2 artifacts that I don't know.
Vorukasha's would be a lot better if Furina's Drain counted.
No, that would require things to function.
That would require foresight.
Yeah.
I can't believe it, because otherwise Vorukasha's would actually be Ellen's best in slot set in Furina teams.
Yeah, but buffs wise, it's solid. Like in terms of effects of the actual set, it's pretty good, but it's just puzzling.
It's just that it only works on Deia, and even on teams where you do care about Deia's damage, you kind of need the emblem because it's just better.
Well, yeah, it's only good on Dia, and Dia has 4 sets that are basically all about as good as each other.
Yep.
Kind of problematic.
Yep.
By the way, I'm preparing a Dia video
Oh.
with Fontaine units.
Okay, so you're gonna recommend Bennett, Shungling, Dia,
No,
and Furina. Bennett, Shungling, Dia, Furina, Ford Vape, Dia, or no, Ford Vape, Furina.
actually, I tried the Bennett, Kazuha, Dia, Furina. I didn't dislike it.
Yeah, but like.
I like it
then
more
you
with
try it with
Shungling because you get the
and
energy.
it's just- yeah. Yeah. No, I think, unironically, I think that Fontaine introduced one actually good Deia team.
You mean the Nubelette one?
Yep.
Interesting.
I didn't love it. I mean, the pyro application in that team, I think it's a bit inconsistent, especially when it's just the Deia elemental skill. If
It
you
doesn't
add
really
the
matter
Kazuha,
because who's a better unit in the slot?
then, I like to play the Shunling variant, I guess.
Furina.
Yeah, that's fair to use
Zhongli.
Okay. Can I fucking have the time to talk about them individually, or are you just gonna keep throwing units at me?
You can keep going.
Jesus. It's fair to use Channeling, but I like the defensive utility that you get from Dea, because at the beginning of your charge attack, usually enemies are right next to you because you've used your burst, so they're like fucking melee range. They had time to walk towards you, and having the resistance to interruption at the start of your like uptime on Neuvillette helps you like consistently get charge attacks so much more.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. Just you'll love it, I guess.
Yeah. Then with Zhongli, I think it's a first rotation team because you're getting a Hydro Crystallize on the second rotation. Good luck. Actually.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of the burn vape stuff or like Dendro comps in general for Neuvillette. I find like Zhongli Animo a lot more consistent, specifically with Furina in the team. I also only have C0 Neuvillette, so the shield is incredibly useful. You can only like fall over so many times before you're like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna use a shield.
You know who else with that?
Dia.
Yeah.
Groovy. But
Yeah.
does
And
Dia
then with
provide
Furina-
20% red shred?
With Furina, it's good. But honestly, I didn't find myself liking it that much. I didn't really get better results than I did with the Dea team.
Okay,
and
cool.
I didn't have the defensive utility that Dea provided. And on top of that, my Dea team is Omega nerfed by the fact that my Neuvillette burst is level 1. Because I think it's funny to keep him at 10-1-1, and you vape the burst in that rotation.
Nice. I've seen some people hype up the Nahida Furina Neuvillette Xiangling. I've not had success playing it, but I have seen people try to hype it up.
Wait, sorry, what was the last unit? Nahida...
Xiangling Furina Neuvillette.
Oh, Furina, okay. Yeah. I don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
I think
It felt really bad to me.
the way the auras interact, when you have two Hydros like that, it just doesn't feel nice.
Yeah, burning
Like-
just disappears.
Yeah. Like when it's like an electro unit instead in the slot, you gain things from the electro unit being there, right? Because you get overloads and you don't lose your burn for your vape, and it makes it so that your Hydro also gets bloom on top of getting vape, right?
If you play Dia there instead of Xiangling, it's a lot more of a Burgeon team. Because
Yes,
your Hydros
definitely.
are overwhelming your Dendro app anyway.
Mhm.
So you're just playing Burgeon
Definitely.
with Dia.
That's the
Which
way. That's
isn't
what I
bad.
felt when I played. That's what I felt when I played without Furina, the Neuvillette, Kazuha, Nahida, and Dea. It felt more like a Burgeon team, and I think part of the reason the Jeff likes it more than other comps is
that's not the
it's
one
also
I
an
like.
investment. I mean, you like it.
I mean,
That's
not
what they got
that
from it.
much. That's not the Dea team I'm referring to.
Oh,
Oh.
what was it?
It's the Raiden Nahida Dea.
Oh. Cool.
Where Dea is not really there. Like, she's not giving you Burgeons. She's just there for, the defensive utility. And the, like, you get your last stack incredibly easily, like, just basically for free. And you get a bunch of forward vapes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Hyper Burgeon.
Oh yeah, I tried this. It was okay.
It's you do not get a lot of Burgeons. You get, like, 1 or 2 in your rotation. And I just play Instructor Dea with, what's it called again? Sumeru Craftable.
Mahaira, I think.
Forest Regalia.
Or the craftable. Oh, I was thinking the
Yeah.
gotcha weapon.
No.
The gotcha weapon is Mahaira or Mahaira.
Yeah, because it gives you, like, you get 250 EM from Nahida Burst, 120 from Instructor, and if you pick up the Leaf, which you don't have to, but, like, you can, that's another 120 ES. That's basically 500 EM for free. So your Neuvillette Burst just fucking slaps.
Yo, here's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself gravitating to teams because you like playing the off-fielders more than the on-fielders?
I think it depends on the team.
Well, just like generally. Are you more likely to play a team for an on-fielder or an off-fielder? Because this is something I'm kind of interested in, because I have a presumably very opposite stance.
I don't feel that strongly about it. I think some on-fielders I don't like, and it's enough to make me stay away from it. Some off-fielders, I mean, I don't think it ever really matters that much.
You know, I always thought you cared more...
It's so case by case.
So let's say I always thought you cared more about a character like Aido because you can play him well with Beto. Or you like Nuvilet a bit because you play him with Dia now.
I mean...
That's always been my interpretation.
I like when characters work together. It tends to feel good. But I also like certain on-field. Like I like playing Xiao in event stuff. Because the way that he reaches the sort of thresholds that you need to like 1 plunge or 2 plunge a wave of enemies, and you get to like
1 plunge.
that feels good to play. And recently, I've been playing a lot of Techneti. Because it just feels so good to play. I've been playing Techneti, Raiden, Baiju, Furina.
Okay.
And the way the rotations flow are just so smooth. I just like it a lot. So like, I really think it's case by case.
Yeah, and generally with more recent units, they're playing around more with how on-fielders work, off-fielders work. Like it's not like it was back in the day where you had these more traditional carries, I guess. So you have just more options to have fun.
Yeah, and like, I mean, another example of a team where the on-fielder is the reason I play the team is Thundering Furry, right? Like, if I want a team that uses Nida, Bennett, and Singto, I've got to, like, I can choose whatever the fuck I want, alright? But what makes the team so fun is that it's a team that takes a unit that's just complete garbage and actually gives them a team where the team is actually pretty reasonable in a bunch of situations. So it really depends on the teams.
I usually like it more when it's an on-fielder, because I like to play the characters I pull for on-field.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It just feels more unique, more impactful. It just feels better to me. Like, if Nuvilet was an off-fielder, I really like Nuvilet as a character, I would be destroyed, probably. I would really be devastated. But him being on-field and doing those huge charge attacks just feels very impactful, and that's what I pulled for.
I think they can get impactful things even without it being on-field, though. Like, I feel like Shanling's Burst is a very good example of something that feels impactful even when it's not, when you're not like actively on her. It still feels like her damage. Like, that's a Pyronado right there, you know?
I don't know if it's as much about feel as it is the people care about the presentation.
Maybe, yeah.
There were people who were very vehemently upset that Furina is an off-field character. Like, just be relevant. And I can guarantee you, if Dainsliff is an off-field character, people will be very vehemently upset.
And I was very vehemently upset when Zhongli was an off-field character as well. Excluding the Pike shenanigans, but when it was just a shield bot, it was revealed just to be a shield bot because the burst was what it was. I mean, that was pretty bad.
I didn't have as much of like stake in Zhongli, so I don't know how much I can relate to this. But I think Zajib, didn't you really like Zhongli at a point?
I mean, Yesent? Like, what do you mean by that?
Like, wasn't he one of your favorite characters at a point? I don't remember.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
But in my experience with the community, like the people I talk to, there are also characters that people would rather that people really like that air off field, like Nahida. And a lot of people wouldn't like to play air on field. So I think it's a character by character case.
I think it's very interesting that they do intentionally design most 5 stars to be able to be played on field, even if it's not optimal.
Yeah.
You can very much say that about Nahida, or especially Nilu. They didn't have to give Nilu an option to Hydro and suffuse her normal attacks.
Yeah, that's true.
But they did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing I'll say is, personally, I prefer when characters that I like are off-fielders, because it means I'm not going to just fucking bench them.
I prefer that as well.
Because you can only have 2 on-fielders in Abyss. Like, that's it. You can only there's only 2 teams. But there's 6 slots for off-fielders. So you can play more of the characters you like if they're off-fielders.
Yep. It's the thing I always say about regarding people ask about value for things. I'm like, the value is, do you play it or not? It doesn't matter what constellation your character is. If you don't play them, it doesn't matter. You've wasted.
Yeah, with on-fielders, for me, it's a bit like the Toy Story meme, I guess. When a new one comes out, just throw the old ones away, and I don't care about them anymore. I haven't used my constellation for Raiden since forever for off-field, from field use.
I'm
Hyperblue Raiden, though.
Speaking of constellation for Raiden, I am devastated that I don't want to pull on the Chevra's banners. I really wanted to get at least 1 copy of her. I still really want to get 1 copy of her. Should I pull for? Should I risk C1 Yoimiya or C4 Raiden?
What does C4 Raiden do again?
It is attack percent after her burst. It is relevant for Raiden National and Eula.
Yeah, it's Raiden constellation after the third.
It's 10
just
seconds. Can you get another burst before it expires?
Raiden? No.
No.
Are you sure?
Oh wait, actually, yeah, you can.
Maybe just the cast. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's enough. Yeah, that's. The cast is
technically useless.
When you're playing, if you're playing Sara, the cast is half the damage anyway. More or less.
What is Yoimiya's C1 again?
Bad. It extends the duration of her burst and gives you 20 attack percent.
It's 20 attack percent.
I don't know if Yoimiya gets it. I don't know. Oh, she does get it whenever an enemy is killed.
Only when an enemy is defeated. Never mind, that is so bad. What the fuck?
It's killed. She gets 20 attack percent.
It's fine. It gets you closer to C2, which is
25 damage percent.
Yeah.
Half a Cyno's C2. Let's go.
I think the way they worded this effect can be triggered even when Yoimiya is not the active character.
Otherwise, it wouldn't buffer burst. It wouldn't buffer burst. They had to add that disclaimer.
A funny one to me is Cyno C4 that gives energy to the whole team, excluding Cyno.
Okay, that one's useful. Okay. Do you know
it's useful, but it's just funny because.
Do you know how often people don't have energy on their Baisho?
Bro.
Yeah, it's useful. It's not useless, but I mean, Cyno is the one that needs it the most.
Yes, he is the one that needs it the most. He really should give it to himself. That's true.
And it's even funnier when you realize how many of these energy refund constellations they've added recently. With Navia now?
Yeah, Navia
C1
C1.
doesn't need it. Cause Zac. True!
Okay, but it also reduces the cooldown for her burst. You could burst every 12 seconds instead of every 15.
Yeah.
Well, not really.
Yeah. That's a good
You can burst after 12 seconds, but then the next one won't be 12 seconds later. Because you don't have another 2 E's after 12 seconds. You only have 1 E.
What?
So
yes, you do. You're using Sac. You have 4 E's.
No! Wait, that means 9 seconds!
What do you mean? What do you mean? Navia's C2 is kind of interesting that it gives crit rate, but only for her E skill, and it triggers her burst without her burst being up. So why does her C1 make her burst have better uptime or easier to get? If her C2 just removes the reason to burst?
True.
The kinda doesn't really make a ton of sense there. I always get a bit confused reading Navia's constellations.
See, that's because you're stupid. True.
I guess so.
I'm a very intelligent person, which is why I don't get confused.
Oh, what do you think about Yai's C1?
God.
Yeah, Yai's C1 angle. Yai's C1.
What is it
Yai's
again?
C1 gives her energy. None of her constellations buff her burst.
Well, if you're going for C1, you might not get the other constellations. So it doesn't matter that the other constellations buff the burst.
Yai's burst is kind of terrible. It's just not really. It's not great. It's not something you want to build for.
It's not great, but the C1 makes it better.
It makes it better.
Also, her C5 buffs her burst, so...
Yes, her C5 buffs her burst.
True.
Have you read
So
about
I
her
think
C5?
you
Yeah,
like
but
to
I'm with Sir Jeff here. If you play a Constellation 1 Yai, for example, the burst is useful.
Yeah.
Of course, if you get Constellation 6, then you just elemental skill, but early Constellations Yai, it's useful. It's a significant chunk of AoE damage.
Her E skill does more damage in aggravate teams than AoE because it's random targeting. You aggravate more hits per on average.
I mean, sure, but you're still only hitting one target at a time.
The enemies need to be close enough for her burst to
Using the
AoE
burst
them.
is better than not using
Her burst is always centered on one enemy, so the enemies need to be close enough in proximity, but not close groups tight enough
Are you
for the
playing an
skill
aggravate team without an animal unit? That
Yeah.
is cringe.
I'll hate them, yeah.
That's not an aggravate team. That's a spread team.
Spread
Oh, okay.
team.
I'm playing a spread
Checkmate.
team.
Checkmate.
Thank you.
Red Gravate team. But the argument I could see against the Constellation one is that if you play Aggravate with Yai, Fischl, and Anemo, and Dendro, Yai's energy requirements are not that high. Especially if you play her on field for 10 seconds in a rotation. That's
Here's
Constellation
my
makes
opinion
more
about
sense
Yai's
for
burst.
there's strict off-field play.
Yai's burst is something you don't necessarily want to always use. You certainly never want to build energy recharge for it. C1 giving you energy back makes that a bit easier to use consistently, but even if you could burst, you won't always want to, especially if your rotations aren't being played exactly correctly, because you don't really ever want to E, Q, E.
Yeah.
You always want to burst E.
Why did you
That's
say
true.
E? That's 4 E's.
If your angle is
Because
if your angle is the Alhatem, if your angle is the if you're talking about an Alhatem team, I agree. I don't like using Yai's burst there. It doesn't feel good. But the aggravate teams with an Anemo, the one that Jeff was talking about, I like it there. But again, I don't think the energy requirements for Yai are particularly high there.
Yeah, and even then, they tend to have like a lot more flexible rotations. So if you burst every like 30 seconds instead of every 25,
that's what you will
it's
be.
fine.
That's what you'll be doing.
Yeah,
Which is
it's
like
still
the
this is
correct
still a
way
buff
to
for
do
them,
it.
but it's
It doesn't do much. That's kind of like I don't know. I'm not a fan of Guys C1 or Guys
but,
Burst at all.
Probably the stronger argument it had when Yai came out is that you didn't get to play her in on teams with very long rotations at release, I think. So in that situation, the energy refund was more useful.
mhm.
The energy refund was more useful when people wanted to play Yai with Raiden.
True.
I'll decode the statement. I'll decode.
But there was also these Yai official teams I remember people were using it.
Yai is good with Raiden C6. You can still do 18-second rotations. True.
You can.
Yeah, like the Yai burst 18-second rotations riding teams. They are a DPS gain over doing 22, 24, 25 seconds with Yai. It was always better to burst every other rotation with Yai, which is an argument against C1. So, like, I'm just not a fan.
I mean, outside of the Raiden teams, the main reason why it was better to burst every other rotation is because in order to burst every rotation, you needed ER. And C1 doesn't have that. You don't... Like, it gets you the burst without needing ER. Like, it still does something. I agree it's not, like, an insanely good constellation, but I don't think it's, like, useless.
Fair enough.
By the way, talking about Yai, I've been talking to Al-Haytham mains, whale Al-Haytham mains, and that have Constellation 6 Yai, and they're now preferring playing the Quick Bloom, Hyper Bloom Al-Haytham team with Cookie and Furina at whale level over the Quick and whale Kicken. And that's interesting to me.
Furina buffs Al-Haytham's damage more. That's it. You get more damage.
Yeah, it's kind of a character that I think she's in a weird spot right now.
A lot of these whales, they could have wailed harder. SMH my head. C6 Furina and Yai. Which is, like, comical to say out loud.
Is that really better than C6 Furina and Nahida?
Nahida's there anyway. You replace Shinobu with Yai.
Al-Haytham, Nahida.
Farina is the healer.
Oh yeah.
The thing.
Yeah, whale level.
More about that.
But at the end of the day, I would understand preferring Shinobu because one, access to support weapons, being Key of Khaj-Nasud or Freedom Sworn, which is kind of just preferable if you're only trying to optimize Al-Haytham's damage, which is what you're doing for a lot of the speedruns.
What about Moon Piercer on Raiden?
What about Zypho's Moonlight?
Real.
Just get a ton of energy recharge.
I'm doing a video on that team this week, the Al-Haytham team with Cookie and Furina. I wasn't really confident in it in pre-release. Like,
no, it's great.
Cookie just being able, in pre-release, Cookie being able to just heal the team and also create enough Furina stacks. But after seeing some stuff and playing some stuff, I like it.
Yeah, it's great. Thing that maybe was underestimated in a lot of cases with Furina is she gives healing bonus. She makes your healers better healers. In a lot.
Yeah. I think
she decreases your literal HP, but increases your effective HP.
She does not increase your effective HP. Be for real now.
She literally makes your healing 30% better.
Yeah,
that
she
is
also
effective
fucking
HP.
makes your HP half of what it's supposed to be.
It's 2% per second, isn't it? 2 to 3% drain per second. Yeah. 30% extra efficiency on your healing. I think that's significantly better in that trade-off. She does increase your effective HP.
Yeah, other than the healing, the Cookie being able to heal the team, in terms of damage buff, with Furina there is this thing. There's this thing where you take damage, and so the team always performs better in practice than it will look like in paper, because you just get more damage bonus than you'd expect from a calculation perspective.
Oh, you're talking about getting hit? Or are you talking?
Just taking damage.
Yes. Yeah. Getting hit does give you a lot of fanfare. It's a joke that what I've been doing on stream. Oh, look at that.
Okay.
Got hit at the end of the rotation. Fanfare for next rotation. Let's go. Or look at all that fanfare. Character dies, plus 100 fanfare. Plus 100.
I'm still recoiling from you saying that you think that you're tankier in Furina teams than in non-Furina teams. You said you have more effective HP.
You have more effective
literally
HP.
means you're tankier.
And you're not literally okay. Tankier
That is
is
what
in one
HP
hit.
means. Effective HP is the amount of damage
you're
you take before
tankier
you
against
die.
damage over time. You're not tankier against single hits.
But you're not, though.
But you are because you're recovering faster.
You're not recovering faster.
But you are.
The healing bonus is, like, with Kuki, it basically makes up for the drain on one of 4 characters. And that's it.
Goro healing.
And, like...
That's Goro, that's not Shinobu.
On other characters, you don't lose HP before you take damage. With Furina, you do, so it also makes you a lot more vulnerable to getting one-shot.
You lose it... For your on-fielder, you're being actively healed.
For your off-fielders, and...
Your off-fielders aren't taking damage
at the
off-field.
start of swapping into your on-fielder.
In situations where you're taking a lot of damage in a lot of separate instances, like the current first chamber, I guess it can be felt. If your off-fielders are at half HP, and you swap to them against those flying orbs in first chamber, if they get 8, they can easily die. It's a instant reset moment.
You're more likely to get one shot, but in regards to damage over time, in something like Coppelia, Furina does make you more more likely to survive the encounter, because you are recovering more after getting hit. You are more likely to survive the second hit if you survive the first hit. That is what I mean by effective HP.
I don't know, man. That clashes with my experience and literally everything I've seen watching other people play. So, I'm just very confused.
Why would I choose Coppelia as an example? Because Coppelia hits you once for, like, 5k, and then they hit you again for another 5k 2 seconds later. If you... The healing is relevant if you're trying to tank multiple hits from Coppelia. They won't exactly one-shot you from full unless your name is Linny, or Klee, or Wanderer. So being able to take multiple hits is important. I do think it is true, because that's how the healing bonus works. Your healers become more effective. Your literal HP pool is lower, or especially starting lower, is problematic. But if you're maintaining high HP values before getting hit, you're certainly more tanky.
Yeah, as long as you just only get hit at exactly the perfect moment, you're more tanky. But that's just not how the video game works. You don't choose when you get hit.
I did say effective health, not literal health.
You know what effective health means?
Your effective HP. The amount of HP you have with buffers.
That is the amount of damage that you can take. It's usually used to refer to, like, health including defense.
And yes, healing efficiency is a defense. Is it not? Is it as much as Jingqiao? Fuck no. But it certainly is. It certainly is a factor.
I don't know about if making you feel tankier. Like, I see it as sort of compensation for the HP you lose. But it's vague, really. I didn't think about it that much, honestly.
You can definitely feel when a healer isn't built very well for Furina teams.
Yeah, but for example, Bennett, you definitely feel it if he's not using HP artifacts. That's a huge difference.
Well, I was specifically like if you're playing Gene and your Gene isn't well built, it can feel real bad, especially if you're short on energy recharge. Whew, feels real bad. Nothing feels worse than Gene's burst not being up. Yeah, Gene, some extent Baiju, but that's not really a thing for Furina teams.
From my point of view, what I can say is that I never felt I was in a situation where Furina made me excessively fragile, I guess. Like, it makes you more vulnerable, but not to an extent you really feel fragile. That's my view on it. Like,
I'm just trying to take a backseat and let you two talk.
There are rooms where
I've been trying to take a backseat. I'm still recoiling. I haven't recovered.
Okay, so I'll talk, I guess. There are rooms that are more threatening, like the first room of the Abyss Orcopedia rooms. But those are rooms that feel threatening with or without Furina. Furina adds to it negatively in some situations, I guess. But in general, she doesn't make rooms that are not threatening, somehow threatening through her HP drain.
Yeah, but like, that's not...
A
hilly troll is not going to kill you through, even if you have Furina, sure, but like, people aren't worried about hilly trolls.
A hilly troll rogue will fucking kill you. You feel most vulnerable with Furina teams at the start of your rotations. Or the start of chambers. Especially if your energy isn't available. The more perfect your rotations are, the less problematic this is. Which is maybe an unobtainable goal or an impractical goal. Especially because you do get hit during encounters.
So what you're telling me is that when you're not playing literally perfectly,
it's much easier to be. Yes. Yes, actually. When your gene burst isn't up, when you need it to be, you're very likely going to be dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I've been saying this whole time.
Okay. So let's talk about something else.
Sure.
Check. Nah, I'd via.
By the way, I tried. I made a Deluxe video this week with Furina.
Did you?
Of course, it's not comparable to the vaporized Furina compositions with theoretically stronger characters like Line, but from an angle making this old character feel decent, I liked it. Like,
have you tried teams with Bennett carry with Furina?
Yes,
no.
I have.
Because like that's my biggest gripe with Deluxe is, especially when you play him with Bennett, I feel like replacing Deluxe for any support and just playing Bennett carry instead is just better.
It's better by
play
virtue
Deluxe,
of
fine.
You can use Kazuha or Xiangling.
Yeah.
I guess replacing Diluc with a stronger character maybe can make it feel better. But if what you want is just making your Diluc feel good, I think the team feels pretty good because you can sort of swap between Diluc Vape strategy and a Furina vape strategy depending on when you use Kazuha's burst. So what element the burst is absorbing. And my experience with it is that when it absorbs Hydro, the team feels stronger in AoE because Diluc's burst feels pretty relevant in those situations. Otherwise...
What sort of AoE chambers?
Like the second chamber of the first side.
Huh.
Yeah, I guess in a chamber like that, sure. The biggest issue that I've had with Diluc in AoE is just outside of his burst, his damage. It's like the size of his AoE is so small that enemies just can't really be grouped close enough to hit all of them. But
I guess it depends.
With that chamber 2 first side, you have waves of either enemies that are incredibly squishy, so they just get one shot by the burst, or that group themselves up very, very, like, a lot, like the automatons, mechs, whatever things.
So,
yeah,
I've played Diluc Furina 2 ways. I've done like double Hydro, which is Yale on Bennett, and I did hold E Venti plunge spam Diluc vape. Ah, yeah.
Okay, the fake Dragon Strike. Okay, the fake Dragon Strike.
Hey, it cleared faster than my Ayano.
What about
burst?
Bug Diluc? What about Arcane Diluc?
What is Arcane Diluc? No, but regarding the way I've been playing the double Hydro, is I'll do one Diluc E hit, then I'll do the Bennett burst, and then Diluc 2 E hits burst, and then you can come back on field and do 3 E hits still in the Bennett burst. So it's a 2 E skill per rotation, or 6 E skill per rotation. It's slightly better.
I am a very big proponent of Diluc skill is the worst skill in the game.
Oh,
so...
yeah. It's also his primary way to do damage, so...
Yeah, but it's so fucking bad.
You know, you gotta love when you get staggered and the E-skill does nothing. That's my favorite part. You just lose a hit of his E-skill if you get hit during it.
Worse than
yeah, it's pretty bad.
So much worse than Klee. Klee's skill is pretty good.
Klee's skill is all very similar, like a primary amount of her damage. I think the most of it.
Except it happens in only one cast, and then you can do other things.
When will the podcast start?
Actually,
an hour ago, chatter.
Does Klee skill deal more damage than a full Diluc skill?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just better in every single way?
They're very different characters, but... Yeah,
I guess.
How do you feel looking back on 1.0 comparisons? Is it Diluc vape level?
Yeah, the Klee just has much more damage as a baseline, which made her work in those monopyro teams better, and in general that makes her a more impactful character in terms of damage, for sure.
Yeah. I think Klee's one of the characters that's like... I don't know exactly how to word it, but like that's somehow managed to stay at the same power level, kinda, in the sense that, like, if you look at how strong she was in 1.0 compared to other, like, popular teams, she was, you know, alright, because she was worse and the other options were also, like, the stuff that was popular, at least, was also worse.
The big thing,
and
Klee...
now,
no,
like, she got a lot better, but, like, I feel like at the same rate as popular teams got better, you know?
The big thing Klee got is the same thing Tartaglia got, except Tartaglia was better with Sucrose. Still is better with Sucrose, which is Kazuha.
I think Furina is also, like, really nice for her.
I would say that a lot more if Lenny didn't exist and wasn't better.
I am a hater of Linny with no resistance or interruption in the team.
Interesting.
I when he came out, I played him for like a whole patch, and I couldn't take it anymore at the end. I've played him once since the patch he came out, because I can't, man. It's so annoying.
Dude,
I hate charge attacks. They suck.
They suck. But characters like Linny Wanderer, they getting interrupted so much, and not just getting interrupted, getting one shot specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I find it pretty charming.
Yeah, it introduces an element of it's not just ooh, let's do the chore of clearing abyss. It's like, am I gonna die? Right?
Well, it's like, oh my god, I can't believe he died from that. That's hilarious. I'm having a blast. Oh my.
Yeah, going back to the Klee thing, she's definitely a character that was initially placed in a team that wasn't clearly her best. It's definitely a character people figured out later, just kind of like a child.
Who?
Klee.
Oh. I mean, when Klee came out, that was Precincto nerf, right?
Yes. When Klee was on banner for like the first week.
So,
for like the first...
Technically, her best team was the one that people used with her for like 2 days.
True. I remember that.
Before they nerfed Singto. But yeah. Outside of that, you're right.
It's like Klee. Xiangling Klee was always kind of passed over, or monopyro teams in general, because people would write them off as, ew, it's not vape, it doesn't have a reaction, I don't want to play that. It's not worth doing. So that's how you get stuff like vape Klee or over vape Klee or reverse melt Klee, which were just never good.
Yeah,
it's also that mono teams just became very popular with Kazuha.
Yeah,
like
the other
after
thing
Kazuha came out, like, you can play them with Sucrose, but with Kazuha, that's where they start having a true meaning, I guess, in terms of team building.
They have their thing in terms of... At the same time, Kazuha was also too busy being grouped with Ayaka in the 2 Point Blank updates for people to look back at Klee.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's also that after Klee we got Ganyu, Hutao, Shao, Yula, Ayaka, just a lot of carries, and people just forgot about Klee. And many thought she didn't even feel that good to use in terms of playstyle.
So a lot of those complaints are still valid.
yeah, but just saying that people forgot about her because there is a lot of carries in that first year.
Yeah, well, there still are.
True.
How do you feel about every Fontaine 5-star besides Furina being an on-field DPS?
I like it. I like on-field DPS. So
I think it gets very tiring when every character is on-field DPS.
I can kind of agree with that. But also, you're basically saying, outside of the character who is not an on-field, every character is an on-field. Like, yeah, if you exclude the characters who do not fit X description, the only ones that are going to be left are the ones that fit X description.
Yeah,
you know,
I feel like
Furina is a character that came out, and she's not an on-fielder.
I just feel like we have a lot of great cores in terms of off-field, and with on-field characters, they can experiment more in terms of new play styles, new synergies. So it's always more interesting to me when they make an on-field carry and they try to do something new, I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of end up preferring a lot of when they make an off-field carry to do something new. That's a lot. I find that a lot more interesting.
True.
Where looking at Furina comps, looking at fanfare, like that was interesting, and that does change team dynamics and specifically team building in very interesting ways with nearly every DPS in the game.
Furina is the most egregious case, I guess.
J-Stern, I have a question for you.
Hello.
And Genshin Scientist as well. If they released literally just another Xiangling, like you could play Xiangling twice, do you think that double Xiangling would be a team?
Yes, but here's what I would rather have than another Xiangling. I want a better Xiangling for Bennetless Xiangling teams.
Yeah, that's...
that makes sense. Yeah.
I want an HP
That's the whole point of making making a Xiangling that doesn't rely on snapshotting buffs and doesn't have as many energy issues, that's the way to make a pyro off-field character that people would like, I think.
You know what? Fuck it. Keep the energy issues. That's fine. Like make people build 300 ER, whatever. As long as they do basically everything else Xiangling does while being less dependent on attack buffs. Meaning the pyro damage percent, pyro res shred.
Yeah, but the thing with Xiangling is also that she's a character that is always finding new uses because she has a lot of things going for her. Now she also has the application that from more recent characters has proven to be useful. It will be hard for them to replicate a character that can have the same value as Xiangling.
Well,
to me.
The constraint in a lot of these more recent teams is Xiangling Solo Pyro is ass. For her own damage and for energy economy.
It very heavily boils down to how cringe it is to have your energy generation be like done over time, and especially on something that can stop generating energy if enemies move away.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, on paper, Xiangling Solo Pyro has some more uses now. It's just kind of so impractical. It can never really get picked up.
I think it depends on the team. But, like, the teams where it is used, she is not a very large source of damage. Yeah. Except the, like, soup ones. Where she is still a very significant portion of team DPS, but they're a lot less popular, right? Like, Sugokumon is not something that people play very much nowadays.
For sure. If you remove Bennett from her teams, she for sure loses damage. But I felt like she was kind of in a situation where she didn't really have uses without Bennett in the first place a year ago, for example. Well, now she's finding uses that are popular, like in a way, I think, and people can play, and that's increasing her value.
I think she didn't have popular uses, but she definitely had uses. Like,
true.
Since 1.0, Xiangling, Fischl, Sucrose, Singso is a very good team.
Would you rather have a Cryo Jingqiu or a Bennettless Xiangling power creep?
It should not be power creep. If you're gonna have Bennettless Xiangling,
alternative.
Yeah, like
the Bennettless Xiangling alternative or a faster source of cryo app off field for, let's say, Bain Marie Flambe.
The thing is, like, Cryo Singso would not actually be all that great for the sort of teams where I would like the sort of cryo application. Like, I would much rather have something where it's a bit closer to Furina in terms of, like, application and damage distribution, where you can actually react most of the damage if you're playing Meld.
Oh, that's what you mean by that.
Yeah, just, like, the fact that you can only vape, like, a third of Singso's damage outside of skill, between half and third, I think would be a much bigger deal for the cryo unit, because inherently it's just gonna happen a lot more often that the cryo is trigger than the hydro is trigger.
Okay, so I guess the hypothetical, this Cryo Jingqiu, it's actually only one projectile per wave, but he still applies with the same frequency.
If it was that, then yeah, I think that would actually be really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
would you rather have, the question was, would you rather have that or the other Xiangling?
Definitely would rather have that, because, like, at the end of the day, you can just play Xiangling in Bennettless teams. She's not going to do damage, really, but it still functions. Whereas the cryo option you're describing would be an actual new thing that I would like to have.
Yeah, we definitely lack a cryo off-field unit that nowadays can feel modern, I guess. We have Kea, Rosaria, but
their biggest issue is uptime. It's just 15-second cooldown, 12-second duration. Is just... If it was 20, like, if their burst was 80 cost, 20-second cooldown, and just lasted 16 seconds instead of 12, I feel like they'd see play in so much more teams.
Here's an interesting, maybe hot take. Definitely hot take, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Does Layla kill Rosaria and Kaya? And Diona?
I don't think she kills them, but I do think there's a lot of teams where they get displaced because of her.
Yeah. At the end of the day, in mono cryo teams, Layla does as much or more damage than Rosaria / Kaya and gives you a shield.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to justify using them over her. And then regarding Diona, she's a Diona that actually does damage.
Yeah, that's why we need a new off-field cryo unit.
And
Although, if you're the 1 in 100 or 1 in 1000 that has a Constellation 6K, it does feel more relevant.
Yeah, C6K is nice. I like it.
Like, the problem is the amount of pulls it takes to get C6 Kaya,
Yeah.
specifically today. Just pull Shenhe, man. Just...
I mean, you can, if you started in 1.0, you can have C6K literally guaranteed.
Yes, if you started at 1.0.
Yeah.
What about players today?
No,
I don't
they
even
can't.
have him Constellation 6, and I spend on the game.
You specifically
but
would have
you're-
to spend on standard banner. He can't be
Or
enrolled on
just
the
buy it
character
in the
banner.
shop.
Yeah. Oh, actually, speaking of the shop, so I've been playing or trying to get into Honkai Star Rail. I'm not having fun with it. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, one of the things I think it does very well is its approach to standard banner, where you can
Does it?
you can pick any of the standard banner 5 stars you want after you've spent what's it 300 pulls on the standard banner.
Yeah, 300.
And all of the standard 5-star weapons are available in the Stardust shop.
Mm-hmm.
So you could also theoretically get any of those if you wanted them.
Yeah, I think that part, I think that's like huge bait, because
It's
Star Rail is inherently a game that lends itself to power creep so much more than Genshin. Standard, like 5-star standard weapons are already not very good.
So you'd rather Genshin never have the option to guarantee a 5-star standard weapon?
No, it's just I think that it's a thing that they do in Star Rail because they know it doesn't matter as much. I don't think they do it in Genshin.
Oh, it wouldn't matter that much now in Genshin because the 5-star weapons are not incredible. The 5-star standard units nowadays, a lot of people have them, and even for new players, they're not incredibly good. So it wouldn't make that big of a difference. But I agree that it's based on Star Rail because I've seen a lot of people pull on the standard banner with the sole purpose of building up the PD of 300 pulls for the standard units.
Yeah,
And that's just reckless, and that's the whole point. They're making that to bait people into spending their pulls on that shit banner.
that's why they
That's
have
true.
one standard character that's really, really good, and the rest pretty underwhelming.
Yes. At the same time, you can say that about Genshin standard banner. It's got one character that you really want, and the rest you'll never play. Sometimes that depends on the account for which character that is, but that is generally the thing with Genshin standard banner as well.
I do feel like it could use some sort of PD, the standard in Genshin, because now that we're getting more 5-star units in that banner, with the Tinari, Dea, getting a specific one really gets hard. And I don't feel like it would be a huge advantage to the player base to be able to pick a specific one, like you do for the weapon banner, for example. I feel like that's a quality of life update they could introduce. I would like to get Dea. I don't have her on my main account to try her for the video. I
Should have gone for her on her banner. Rip Bozo.
Yeah, that's a wasted opportunity.
If you need to borrow my account, let me know.
No, I have 3.
Okay. I think there was a time in 1.0 where people would have like been foaming at the mouth for the opportunity to guarantee Mona. Or an opportunity to guarantee Jean today. I don't think it would be the most unhelpful thing.
If I could
have.
guarantee one character, it would be Dea. Over and over until one day she becomes a good carry.
Let's go!
At C6.
I'm on C3.
Oh shit, that's actually got a bug. Only 3 away.
Yeah! We're getting there. I got my first Tighnari off banner too.
I tried C6. She feels pog.
She does?
Yeah, like she's an
feels good.
actual, like, she's at C6, she's basically the equivalent of a C1 decent 5-star.
Yeah, that's...
At C5, she's like a C0 mid-level 5-star, and yeah, at C0, she's dog shit.
Isn't her C6 primarily uptime?
Yeah.
And it's also a pretty big stat.
More
buff.
damage.
Is it a stat buff? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a crit.
Oh, it's crit rate.
Crit rate.
And crit damage. Cool.
Yeah, it's a huge stat buff, and it gives you more uptime.
Cool. So it makes her about as good as a C0 5-star.
Well, I think it's about
More
a
or
C1.
less.
It's a C1 decent 5-star or a C0 really good 5-star.
Okay.
Or a C6 really good 4-star. Maybe not that far. A good...
Yes,
So
I
for
know it.
example,
carry, sure.
For example, would you compare C6 Dea to C1 Line?
I would say C0 Lenny.
I think she'd be better than C0, maybe worse than C1.
The AoE with Dea feels unironically pretty nice to me. Like
It is.
with C6 you get a lot of damage, a big damage increase, and all in AoE. So depending on the situation, I can definitely see where she can feel even better than C1 Line.
And you're not vulnerable to stagger, which is nice.
Since you've been playing a lot of Dia recently, I'm sure you've played Dia against the Simon.
Yes.
How do you feel about Dia's targeting, not targeting the pillars?
Okay,
she only targets Simon.
Okay, listen. You think that's bad? Have you ever tried her against Azaha?
No, I have not played Dia against
Dude,
Azaha.
it's so bad. Like the third phase when it like goes underground, she just targets random places for no reason. But like she actively tries to go away from the thing you're supposed to hit. I hate it so much. It's so bad.
Does she try to hit the body underground? That's based.
I think so, yeah.
That's based.
It's fine. It's fine.
But yeah,
hilarious.
I find it so frustrating on
That
Simon.
actually makes me wonder, does Yoimiya's charge, like special charge attack, also do that?
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't think anyone's ever tried it.
I've seen Furina's Crabaletta chase the Ruin Serpent underground. Or like when it's doing the big spin attack, it will literally spin in circles chasing it.
Nice.
I think I haven't fired a single charge attack with Yoimiya ever. Like in any situations ever, not even in the overworld. So I wouldn't know.
It has a very interesting targeting.
I did it back in the day because we were trying to find out if Amos buffed it. It does. Spoiler. The other fun fact is Amos buffs Oz, but only officials Ascension 1 passive. Depending on the distance Oz is from the enemy. It's weird. It's weird.
Man. I miss the old days of Theorycrafting when that was the kind of shit we were doing, man.
What about how long does it take to run from Liyue to Inazuma on water
I
now?
don't care about that.
What? Whack.
That's uninteresting to me.
Uninteresting? What could be more interesting about the open ocean, seeing the air, all the fish? Lovely.
Dude, the horizontal impact is so much more interesting. Be for real now. The effect
not-
that casting your burst while horizontal has on its shape.
Did anyone
That-
figure out how to reproduce it on the statues in Sumeru yet?
I did.
You did, okay.
Yeah, wait, let me head there.
How easy is it? Because I was not able to re-trigger it.
I think with short male characters, I can get it like a third of the time, maybe. With short female models, I think maybe like a 10th.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think I've ever gotten it with other models.
Nice.
On that topic, whenever I read on the sketching main library, half of the shit it's there. It's so weirdly specific. I just wonder how people even thought about testing that.
What, you don't
Like,
want to
there
learn
is-
about zone levels?
Just so many very specific things that they don't even apply to the game most of the time, but they've been tested. It's just great in a weird way to see that people actually tested those.
Yeah. What I mean by zone levels, if you didn't know, parts of the open world have different levels. You're able to test this by triggering transformative reactions against the map. So things like not electrocharged, electrocuted, I think is the name of the electro-hydro-water reaction. So the damage you take from that is variable depending on the level of the goddamn area. And you're able to confirm what the
Wait.
levels of the areas are.
Someone just said they just tested UAV's charge attacks, and the small things do indeed go straight into the ground.
Let's go! Let's go! It's always funny when Yoimiya, Yelan, and Xingqiu all target different enemies. If you've played enough Yoimiya, you've seen like Yoimiya do the arrow straight, and like Xingqiu and Yelan just shoot behind her at a different enemy. Auto target. What a mess.
Yeah, I'm actually like I've been trying to redo it and I'm not getting it. I think I'm sad.
Okay, the other funny thing about Furina's animals do not like campfires, and they do not like Fontaine exploration puzzles. They will try to fuck them up. They get very upset. Ugh.
Oh, I almost had it. I got horizontal, but I slid off instantly.
Ooh. Just try to do the horizontal Pyronado. That one's fun. Or Kaya. You can't do Kaya. Do Pyronado.
Razor's my favorite one.
The wolf in the ground? The wolf.
Yeah. Fuck the ground!
Wait, they don't like Oz? Oh, no, birds. Oh, we have actually not talked about Chevres, have we? We talked a bit about Navia earlier. Do we want to like talk about Chevres?
I don't like her.
I'm down.
You really don't like her? I think she's
I really
incredible.
don't.
I like her.
I like her. What don't you
I
like?
think
This could be
she's-
interesting.
Pretty bad without C6.
I have to disagree.
I think she's for sure worse than somebody like Kazuha without C6 in most of the teams she can fit in, but better than other options, I feel like. That's just based on what I calculated and seen.
But like those teams are already not great teams.
That's true. Like she
Well,
doesn't
that's true.
enable the strongest teams in the meta for sure. It's teams that can play Hydro units like Furina and Yelan, so they're just limited in what they can do. But the niche she opens, I feel like it's decent enough to make her a pretty good 4-star to own if you want to play something different. Like, they're
Yeah, like-
pretty
Yeah.
decent teams.
If the appeal is to play something different, then yeah, sure. But if the appeal is to play something that's like
The
actually
best?
good,
Okay.
I feel like a crazy
got it!
person, but I'm about to
finally got
say.
it.
I'm about to say.
I finally got it.
Nice. I'm about to say I'm looking super far ahead. I'm seeing we're getting a Electro 5-star, we're getting a Pyro 5-star coming up.
Yeah.
I think Chev
like,
is going to be possibly an important piece to have.
That's something I mentioned. It's like she very much has the potential to be good if she was designed with the upcoming Pyro and Electro characters in mind. But
I think she makes pretty bad theoretical teams actually decent by herself, and that makes her good, and it has further proof value if they, for example, Chlorine or Arlecchino can actually tap into that. And
I think the downside of not being able to run Animo units in a team that triggers Overload is so significant in so many situations that it's going to make her teams just inherently a lot more niche.
Well,
people have been playing right.
The overload damage is low without Animo. For example, without Kazuha, you get low overload damage. The point of Chivalry's teams is not getting overload damage.
Yeah, but you're still getting the overload reaction, which knocks enemies away, and you don't have a way to group them.
Yep.
Like that was
that's true, but if you trigger overloads even with an Animo unit, they will be blown away. In my experience, like the grouping becomes much less effective at actually grouping opponents if you also trigger overload.
At the same time, it does somewhat counteract. Have you played an overload team against the Dendro Balls?
No.
Chamber 1? It's not fun. It's not.
Yeah. I do think, like I talked about this, the fact that she's released the same patch we're getting Hydro Tulpa in Abyss is going to make people think she's broken.
It's funny, we're also getting Geo Slimes in Abyss.
Omega.
On second side.
That's crazy.
Both sides
Overload.
are set up for Chevres.
Just for her. Holy.
They are using the patch to sell Chevres. Have you seen the art for the update too?
Bro.
It's her, front and center. Poor Navia.
Yeah, no, I think it's like...
I think
in order to actually take advantage of her buff, you have to be, like, triggering both. Like, you have to be dealing damage with an Electro and a Pyro unit, because otherwise, you can just use an Animal unit instead, and... Like, the main upside of her is that you're getting it with like, you're getting the damage on both without needing dank setups, right?
Yes.
And if you are using a unit, like units that deal damage from both of those elements, you'll trigger a lot of overloads, and it's going to ungroup enemies a lot, which makes it really, like, hard to recommend her teams whenever enemies are... Well, cringe to overload.
Regarding the Animo comparison, isn't there value in the redundancy of this character being at C0 being nearly as good as Kazuha on paper? Or even if you, especially on like
she is not as good as Kazuha on paper at C0.
Yeah, she isn't.
She isn't. But she's similar enough.
She's a lot more similar to just a random Animal unit with VV.
That's true.
40 attack percent.
However, I think that being able to reapply resistance reduction on opponents without swapping back to the Animo has some uses. And also, if you're facing opponents that have a pre-established elemental gauge on them that doesn't allow you to use Whirl Pyro, for example.
Oh yeah, for example. I wonder when that'll come up.
Yeah.
I wonder when. I wonder when.
Yeah, I think like that's her main use case. The main reason why I don't like her is like at C0 she feels like a Star Rail unit. She feels like a unit that's
really
like she's pretty good against type weakness enemies that have a type weakness to her, aka enemies you can't really swirl. And outside of that, I feel like she's kind of just too much of it. Like, I don't think she offers enough to really justify the slot over a grouper.
There are not a lot of groupers in this game.
Over Sucrose.
Over Sucrose, I think I have to disagree a fair bit.
I like Chevrolet over Sucrose. I don't like her that much over Kazuha if you don't have Constellation 6, but that's Kazuha. I mean, Kazuha is kind of in a tier of his own.
Is able to trigger overloads, but you need to give her field time to really take advantage of that.
There's also the fact that, like,
you also have to spend a
if you're
lot of
playing
resin.
Sucrose, you can also play a Hydro unit. You can't do that with her.
But that's the goal. The idea is that you don't do that with her. That's why it's nice.
Yeah, but like, the point I'm trying to make is like, yeah, you can look at, okay, what if you use her in an overload team versus if you were to use Sucrose instead? And like, sure, that's cool and all, but those overload teams with Sucrose are not particularly good right now. So her being stronger than those overload team with Sucrose, it doesn't mean much, right?
Right.
Like, I think it's much more relevant to compare her to teams that are actually good.
I think it does matter when you talk about the resin overhead.
About the what?
Resin. It takes a lot of resin to get a full EM set for Sucrose. It takes a lot of resin to level Sucrose.
You don't need a full EM set for Sucrose in a team like that, though.
Oh yeah. No, I guess you don't. If you want to run field
really
trade
benefiting from
overloads,
the
you do.
EM.
But yeah, I guess you're right. But my point was going to be that Chev doesn't even require a set. She barely even requires levels.
I agree that if you compare her to the very strong teams, like her variants, her team compositions are not as good. But in terms of making a lot of teams that are theoretically bad actually decent, I think that there is value in that. And there are teams where you're not using Anemo units or Hydro units, so you can save them for the second side, potentially, or the first. So the side where you don't play these Chevrolet teams.
Yep.
And I think it's by itself, in terms of a 4-star being impactful on a team, I think she ranks pretty high because the impact she has on these teams is remarkable.
I mean,
I understand Sandra's argument of these teams aren't good in the first place. Who cares if she's better? Is that it?
Like, yeah, like my like the reason why I'm overall mostly negative on her is just like, I don't think that at C0 the teams where she's played are really good enough for it to be like, hey, you should play this team. You should use her in these teams. Like, I think at C0 in most situations, if people want to get good results out of their Raiden, if people want to get good results out of their Yoimiya, they're better off using one of the other options.
I can agree with that. But
and I don't like that. I don't like how C6 baity it feels.
Here's a counter argument. With things like the Tulpa, there's an increased importance on non-hydro dependent damage.
Yeah, and that's getting back to like, she is effectively a Star Rail character, or like a typical gacha type weakness character that does really well against a very specific type of enemy, and it kind of makes it feel like, oh well, you should get her just so that you can deal more efficiently with that type of enemy, and you should also get that other character so you can deal more efficiently with that other type of enemy.
Oh my god, you're gonna get
and
me
over
going
and over,
on,
and it's just
yes, this is like one of the things that's been bugging me about Star Rail as I've been trying to play it. What do you mean I have to pull every fucking banner? Get out! Go away!
Yeah, that's what I don't like about it. Like, I do agree that she definitely will have some use cases where she is strong and her teams can very much be upgrades to other teams. I think specifically in the upcoming Abyss against the Tulpa, I can definitely see a world where teams with her are the best options for Raiden carry teams and Yoimiya carry teams. But I don't know if I like that.
It sure would
I don't know if I like the design direction of that.
Even ignoring this rock, paper, scissors thing, effectively, the fact that her resistance reduction is completely tied to just overload, it makes it more consistent than the resistance reduction the Anemo units have.
Yes.
to
it
me.
does. It applies off you.
Just from a general perspective, like it would be always useful, this factor. It's kind of like the thing Dendro units had, where their artifact set was more consistent at reducing resistance than the very distant Veneer, which made them better for certain Abyss lineups. But I think in this scenario, being tied to Overload is even better at making it consistent.
I kind of want to talk about the game design aspect of putting Tulpa in Abyss. Because I understand putting Tulpa in Abyss to go, hey, dumbass, you need a non-Hydro side. The problem I have with that is because Tulpa is inherently Hydro, it bricks half of the good non-Hydro teams. Like Mono, Pyro, and Spread, and Aggravate, they all get bricked against this goddamn thing. They all get...
Yeah.
Or aren't nearly as effective.
Yeah,
even someone
true.
like Lenny, who just is losing damage by vaping.
It definitely adds an element to the game where a lot of the teams you Theorycraft for or just calculate them to have a specific performance, they're not going to have that in that scenario. So it definitely adds an element where you're getting different results compared to what you initially expect. And I feel like in Genshin...
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to leave.
Oh, okay.
But thanks for having me, and
Hey,
I
no
will see you next time. I'm really sorry to interrupt your train of thought, but
No, it's okay. If you have something to do, go. It's been 2 hours.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, business. Bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
You were saying.
I actually would like to have more of that in Genshin. Like, so scenarios that kind of
Really?
break this. Yeah. Because that's how you diversify the meta. I know you don't like this word, but just the characters that are traditionally good. Like introducing enemies that require specific solutions that aren't necessarily so specific that you need to build that one character, but just make the strongest characters weaker in that situation. I'd like more of that.
I would rather have the enemy just straight up be immune to Hydro damage and still able to take an elemental aura. That's what I would much rather have in this scenario. If it could still take an aura, it still provides the message of non-Hydro dependent teams, but your damage doesn't get ruined.
Okay.
It
I
feels
guess.
a little too, it feels too punishing. Because it's not just non-Hydro dependent teams that are good against it, it's specific non-Hydro dependent teams that are good against it.
I guess it feels worse when it's on a DPS check, like the Tulpa.
Yeah.
So you get your damage ruined against an opponent you really need damage for, but
I understand what you talk when you're saying about diversifying the meta. Alhaitham is still going to be one of the better teams against the Tulpa, but you're still losing damage by not being able to spread against the thing. But it's gonna feel really bad. Which is interesting because Alhaitham spread teams are traditionally just some of the better non-Hydro dependent teams in the game right now.
Yeah.
Or even Mono Cryo. Mono Cryo teams, you can't VV Cryo at all against it. So you lost a third of your damage. Actually more if you're playing Kazuha.
I guess that it's the return of triple Electro Raiden team.
Wanderer Farzan, that shred isn't tied to an aura, so that'll be good. Unless you get one shot by it. Which is kind of likely.
I think it's it can be annoying, but now we have so many teams in the game that we can play around that. So I also find entertainment in that.
We have so many teams that we can play around it, yeah, but I just wish it was less punishing regarding teams that would be able to play around it otherwise. It feels unfairly constricting instead of just being constricting and like this is a cool restriction.
Yeah, I guess.
That's.
I think it would definitely feel more annoying in practice than what I'm expecting now. And just talking theoretically now in terms of game design, it's nice to have something that diversifies the way we play, but in practice it will definitely feel worse.
Well, the in-practice thing is interesting. If you're already clearing Abyss chambers, like the difficult ones in 2 rotations, you're not necessarily going to notice needing 3 rotations to clear the Tulpa. But if you were barely clearing, you're gonna feel it.
Yeah, and I feel like this barely clearing it side is getting increasingly big now that the Abyss is getting harder. So
yeah, the Abyss is certainly getting harder. It'll be interesting to see if the new DPS check from the Tulpa becomes the standard for future Abysses. If we immediately go back, I guess that's fine. But I am worried about the DPS jump from what we have now to specifically the Tulpa chamber, because the other 2 chambers are in line with our current DPS checks.
With Furina, you had an increase in team DPS, average team DPS in general, so it makes sense for the checks to also get higher.
Not everyone has Furina. It's not really something to take for granted, unfortunately.
That's true, but from a power creep standpoint, they kind of don't care. If the designers wanted to power creep, I don't think that's the case, but if they wanted to, they kind of don't care about who doesn't have Furina, because the point of power creep is making people pull for a character.
Yep. Yes, it is. It's a little frustrating. Because I always like to go, whenever I log onto an account, or specifically for an account review, it's like, okay, what do you want me to play? Or like, what do you want? What specific character do you want to play? Because I will help maximize that one. And it feels very bad when, let's say your character is D-Luke, where D-Luke is unable to clear Abyss. No matter what you do, it's just not really going to happen unless you've spent an absurd amount of money and time.
Yes. Yeah. That line of characters not being able to clear the Abyss definitely got higher. If your investment is not... like, the investment line required to clear the Abyss definitely got higher for the theoretically bad characters.
Yeah.
And it sucks in a sense, but Genshin is also one of the gachas that is most... I think it's more generous in that sense.
It is. The cool thing about Genshin is it's very open-ended. There are a lot of ways to a 36-star. Shout out to what we were talking about a month ago, 2 months ago now, where we talked about if you were starting in this update, what do you play? And I find those conversations very interesting. The idea of what does the floor actually look like. A lot of people like to pretend they are representing floor, or their advice is good for newer players, but a lot of that's kind of disingenuous in my opinion.
Yes, especially if you're just starting, you're missing every character and you're missing every weapon. The weapon is probably the biggest thing actually, because the characters you can pull for, but the weapons, you're much less likely to find yourself in a situation where you're pulling for a 5-star. So if you don't spend on the game, you're just going to have those 4-star weapons from the normal pool, the normal banner pool, and whatever free-to-play weapon you get from the point you start, and it really gets hard to build your characters properly. So
You know, the weapon is an interesting point because you might never get a fab, for example, besides warbow. But the thing I kind of been running into is 4 stars.
Characters.
Yeah, 4-star characters. A lot of them really want constellations, and they're things you just can't get within a reasonable period of time, especially when they're not on banner.
But talking to strictly free-to-play players, the biggest difference between accounts was totally the weapons.
Okay.
Like the freely obtainable weapons you get, it's just very. There's just a big difference between the best you can get and the thing you'll actually get if you're free to play. I think they should add those exclusive 4-star weapons to the normal banners too, because I think there is no point in having them being exclusive.
Which weapons do you mean by that? Oh, you mean like alley flash and stuff?
Xiphas.
Okay, Xiphos, yes. Okay, I can agree with that. I would actually like to see a lot of weapons get retired. If they wanted to be, like, really friendly with it. No one actually wants Flute.
Like, Sacrificial Greatsword by Navia.
The problem I have with Sacrificial Navi is I don't know how much of a place it has. Overlord's Mega Magic Sword is great. Serpent Spine is great. She has a lot of 5-star weapon options.
That reminds me of people wanting to play Sacrificial on Constellation 6 Furina.
Yeah, you lose half your damage to use the fucking thing. Why would you use it?
Yeah.
Congrats. You can spend more time on field doing less damage.
It's fun in theory, but I just don't see it being an actual advantage. Like,
yeah. At least Sacrificial Greatsword is theoretically good for Navia's damage.
For the energy.
But the point is, if you already have a high refined Sacrificial Greatsword, you've likely been playing for a while. What other weapons do you have available, and are any of them better anyway?
Yeah.
Is kind of that's what I mean by I don't think it has a place. The free-to-play weapon, Overlord's Mega Magic Sword, absolutely better than R1 Sac.
For sure.
Or even R2 Sac. So it gets difficult. So, like, where do you use Sac? What does this account look like? I'm sure it can exist, but I don't know.
Yeah, back to the weapon banner thing. The whole point of making them exclusive was giving people more reasons to actually pull on those weapon banners. And they really modified that a lot with PTs and new weapons, new 4-star weapons. So I don't think people were initially pulling for weapons that much. But the thing with it, I just don't like it. I just don't like how the weapon are structured in this game. It's the thing that feels the most scammy to me, I guess. The scammiest thing there is in this game. It just feels like if you want to get good weapons for your characters, you have to spend in a way.
It's always nice, but it's like every other update, they give you a free weapon for an on-banner character. How good these weapons are on those characters is probably more hit and miss than it should be. What was the most recent one? Before Mega Magic Sword? I don't remember. Was the book. Ballad of the Boundless Blue. No, yeah. Ballad of the Boundless Blue is pretty good on Riesli, and it's mediocre on Neuvillette. And it's pretty good on Wanderer. It's
an
not
okay weapon.
Necessarily better than Flowing Purity on Riesli. Is kind of the problem. It's nice that it doesn't take a billet, but that it's only as good as the free-to-play weapon option is problematic. I wish it was closer to, like, It's kind of close to Widsith already. But let's just say I wish it was closer to Sacrificial Jade on Neuvillette. R1.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason the people like these transformative reactions theme so much, the Hyperbloom theme of sorts, is because they just if they're free to play, they just can't bring their hyper carries, I guess, to deal enough damage to justify using them over the safer transformative reaction themes a lot of times.
So at the end of the day, there's only one Shinobu on an account. You can't play those transformative teams on both sides.
Yeah, true.
What I find like the Resin or Primo Gem efficient clears look like is it's the main DP. It's a 5-star main DPS on one side, and it's the Shinobu team on the other side. And I think that's important to acknowledge, that you can't just play Shinobu on both sides. Even if you had 2 Shinobus, there aren't enough Dendro characters that you can guarantee. There aren't enough Dendro 4-stars available at any point. Outside of some very specific banners.
That's true. And now with Furina, those teams where you play a more typical carry, even if you don't have the signature weapons or a great weapon, the bar has been raised to a point that they'll still feel pretty decent now that with Furina teams, I mean. Like, even if you use a prototype Amber Neuvillette with Furina, it will still feel pretty great.
That speaks to more like how. Okay, we've been looking at a lot of the DPS for low cons 4-star teams and like only 1 5-star pull. Most of these teams cap out at 50k DPS at most.
50k.
Yeah. So of course, if you have Furina and Neuvillette, it's gonna feel strong. It's gonna feel stronger than anything else, including the Dendro teams.
Yeah, and theoretically, 50k, like, it should be enough to clear the base. I'm not gonna say comfortably, but enough. But then you add all the obstacles you get in practice that make your effective DPS lower.
For a reminder, that's without 4-star constellations and with only 1 5-star pull.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
When you add all those obstacles, and you get that scenario where you have people complaining, "Oh, I can't clear the abyss."
A lot of times, people being unable to clear abyss isn't entirely because of obstacles like that. Usually it's team building problems, in my experience. A lot of people
just using the wrong team?
Yeah, just using the wrong teams for the characters that they have or they've built, or trying to force
or the wrong rotations.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's kind of... It's interesting, because there's not one way to clear, but there are smarter ways to play that can get you that clear faster.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Using a rotation that actually works for the lineup you're facing can really lower your clear time by even 20 or 30 seconds based on your positioning. Just doing smart stuff in actual real gameplay. And that's why, even though I'm a Theorycrafter, the fixed rotation things, to me, they're just hints at how to optimize the team damage. But then most of the time you just change that rotation to fit whatever you're facing, and that's just better. And
I think I actually have to disagree with that. When you're struggling for damage, every little bit of DPS matters. And you're not really going to be changing your rotation to line up with the Abyss Chamber if you're not clearing. That's more of a thing for speedrunning.
Yeah, but if you're facing multiple waves where the HPs of a wave, for example, the current first chamber, the first wave is a free buy. But I experienced this thing where I just didn't use the pre-established rotation a lot of times in that situation, where I just want to kill those 2 minions as fast as possible and then actually start with the rotation, the true rotation.
Okay.
Like,
a lot of times when you're doing rotation, they die during that setup. Ideally. That's my experience with it. Like you're putting up your Furina E-skill and burst, and you're swirling. That pops the bubble mage.
Yeah.
And then he dies very shortly after. The dangerous Samaturl has 30,000 HP. I think literally.
Yeah, but not all teams have a Furina or a Hydra unit. Like I really tried a lot of teams on the first side.
Okay.
And just getting through these obstacles that aren't predicted by the calculations. So the shields or your Kazuha infusing Pyro on all opponents. So if you use the burst while the shield is still active, it does introduce elements that make me vary from the pre-established rotation, and that's actually something I like.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway, now I have to go as
you
well.
gotta go too? Okay. Thank you very much.
It's
Would you
been
like
2
to
hours.
plug anything? You said you had not a Furina guide, a Dia guide coming up.
Yeah, I have a Dia guide coming. I have a Alhaitham guide coming, I guess. Maybe an Ayaka guide coming, although I don't really want to make that video, but she has a rerun soon.
Are you gonna include Furgana?
For Ghana, you're going to have to describe this team to me because I'm not good with names.
Furgana. Furgana.
So Furina and who else? Ayaka,
Furina,
Anonimo,
Kazuha, Charlotte. Furina.
Who? Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Okay. Yeah, probably. Because,
Let's go, Furgana! I'd be very
Furgana.
interested to see what you get with the Urx.
yeah, I will definitely check that out.
Or if you get a good result for it.
Just theoretically, it shouldn't be bad.
It shouldn't be bad, but it also might not be as good as we're expecting. Or as expected. Because you need 160 ER on Ayaka.
Yeah. I will see.
Good luck.
Oh well. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming. That's it. We're co-hosts. I'm not having you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's your stream.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think we're also it's definitely green.